Hello again, and welcome to the last of these little videos. We've looked a lot at ways in which we deconstruct the songs to kind of make sense of the different elements. So we've looked at the lyrics, we've looked at random use of word games and what have you to create lyrics. Incidentally, that approach is quite useful if you've got stuff in your head already in terms of chord sequences and riffs or whatever, but you're stuck for words. And I know a lot of people find it work that way round. They start with the music and they put the words in as a last resort sometimes. But that's quite a cool way of getting some lyrics together if you've got everything else. Just going and playing those games and getting ideas for titles and getting ideas for hooks and what have you. So in this video we're going to look at putting it all together, of course, making sense of it all, if you like. All those different deconstructions are no use at all unless it fits together and you're comfortable or you're happy with what you're putting together. And I guess the key thing that we haven't looked at very much so far is melody, the tune, which is what people are listening to first. Whatever comes across through the speakers or across the stage or whatever, it's the melodies that people kind of like relate to as quickly as they can. So let's talk a little bit about crafting a melody or creating a melody. I think one of the most important things to do is to let the music, the accompaniment, the stuff we've worked on so far, certainly in terms of chords and riffs and beat patterns and what have you, let that sit nicely together, of course. But it's an accompaniment for the melody. There's no need to follow the tonic note, for example, with your melody. You can experiment with melody in two ways. Obviously with pitch, how high, how low, how quickly the melody flows, but also with where you start the melody in terms of where it sits in the bar or where it sits in the musical phrase. So if you're working with, say, take the little thing we did before with that shifting A minor chord. Okay, so that's essentially the accompaniment. Now, melody, if it starts where the chord starts, okay, it works, but it's going to sit quite repetitively. If you start the melody somewhere else, creates a little bit more interest. It becomes a little bit more flowing and there's a little bit more to play with and a little bit more for the listener to listen to and to get involved with. Okay. And the other thing to do is to let the music through. Don't feel as though you've got to sing all the time. So again, la 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 la. Letting the music flow through so it all starts to kind of like groove together in a really neat kind of a way. So in terms of song structures, there are a lot of genre-specific song structures. If you're writing in a certain genre, a certain style, then get a listen to those and see how they're put together. Generally speaking, a verse will come first, although there are often times when the chorus is used as an introduction, or some cases a bridge is used as an introduction, but generally speaking the verse will come first, sometimes two, before you get to the hook, before you get to the chorusy bit that everybody joins in with when they know it. In the case of kind of rap or grime or any of those kind of spoken word driven compositions, then there'll be a lot of material before you get to quite a short hook, and the hook may go on for a bit, but essentially the same principle applies whichever genre you're looking at. It usually starts with the most information of the song and then hits the hook. Then after the chorus or hook or whatever, there may well be a repetition of a verse or a half verse, and then a bridge or a breakdown of some kind. Sometimes it's a solo, instrumental solo. And then when you get towards the end, going out of a song is probably going to be chorus based. Maybe the chords of the chorus are played before the actual vocal comes in. In terms of arrangement, you could look at that another time, but in terms of songwriting, you're probably going to need material that will cover at least 2 verses and a bridge of some sort and that chorus. Yeah. So as we put the songs together, don't forget, if you feel intuitively you've got your kind of chords going and you've got your rhythms going and it's fine, and you get to the end of the verse and actually it feels as though you want to do another verse, even though you think maybe I said I was going to do 2 verses here, but now I think I should do 3. Do 3. It's your shout. Don't feel as though you've got to lock it back into some kind of structure. They're not there to kind of prison you into a kind of way of writing. If your intuition tells you otherwise, go there. Equally the same, if you want to throw some bizarre chords in, or you want to cut to a different speed or a different time signature or whatever, then go there. Please do. This is just a kind of outline, if you like, of how things are often put together. So what I've done is I've put together stuff based on what we've talked about over the last few videos. And you'll see on the screen, I've written out a version, a draft, if you like, a sort of sketch of some of the lyrics that we talked about earlier on. And you can see, first of all, down the right-hand side of the lyric, there is the rhyming scheme. So we've got that A, A, B, B, A, C, C, D, D, A in the main part of the verse. And then a change for the pre-chorus with E, F, E, F. So that gives us lyrically a little bit of motion, a little bit of interest going forward. And then classically, the chorus is the title 4 times through, okay? And that's essentially how I would start. I would sketch that out, knowing that it may well change, but I've got it organized, I've got it written down, and I've got it in front of me so I can kind of work from it, knowing in the back of my mind that things may shift. We might get a bit stuck for something and I might have to go back and redo it, but essentially there is a kind of way of approaching those lyrics, okay? Now, I've also thrown together some of the ideas that we talked about with the chords and what have you. So I'm using that little A minor phrase, okay? And I'm using that for my entire verse. That's it. I've also put together a little clip, a little drum pattern clip that I can play along to and gets me into the groove. So I can just set that going. And I just go around. They watched you dance the night away. They wait to hear the next thing you'd say. Or maybe they watched you dance the night away. That's going to get a bit dull. So I'm going to go back to the first one. They watch you dance the night away. They wait to hear the next thing you'll say. They lined the streets, they felt your heat back in those glory days. And then the next bit will probably be the same thing again, yeah. And then into that pre-chorus using the chord 4. Maybe some will recall, but you know that most will forget. Rise turn to a fall when your past and your future met. And then that takes us into the chorus. When you were the star of the story. When you were the star of the story. When you were the star of the story. And so on, yeah? and then back into. And because I've got that drum thing going, it keeps me in there, it keeps me on it, keeps me kind of thinking and keeps me into the groove. I'll stop it now. I said I'll stop it now. Whew. Yeah, so that's using all those little ideas of the kind of chord pattern, shifting chords, shifting chord shapes, I should say, sorry, and then moving into the pre-chorus and then into and landing on the chorus. I also now know that when I write my second verse, which will probably be half as long as that, I've got my rhyming scheme for it. I'd probably use the same pre-chorus again and then straight back into the chorus. Okay? And last of all, I'd just like to point you in the direction of a few useful resources. Get yourself a rhyming dictionary. There's a lot of good stuff online. There's a site called Rhyme Zone that I use, but also you can get a book and have it near you so that when you're crafting lyrics, you can refer to it and pick up ideas. Thesaurus, obviously, the same thing. Second of all, get a notebook. Make sure you're writing stuff down all the time. Now, that might be lyrics, or it might be ideas for chord patterns. Might be snippets of conversation, might be a TV show you've seen that you quite like the idea of, or a lyric that you kind of comes into your mind, or a way of treating lyrics that come into your mind. Anything at all. Jot it down. Or record it into your phone as soon as you have the idea. Really, really good practice to do that. And most importantly, listen to the music you like with an analytical ear. What is it that's making that music work for you? Look online for the chord shapes. Look at how the lyrics are put together. Try it out. Play along to things. We're all doing it. We've all got ideas from other people. That's how these songs work. So don't be afraid of unpicking some of the music that you really like and finding out what it is that makes it work and what it is that makes it tick. And try and use that in your own work. You'll soon put your own spin on it. You'll make it your own eventually. But don't be afraid of taking ideas that have already been laid down and reworking them in your own way. Okay. Good luck with it all. Maybe I'll see you again soon.